Hey everybody, Gary McGowan here, and on August 24th, Mr. Trudeau drops the housing plan, and that becomes a major part of their platform for the election coming up. We're going to jump into it. We're going to review what it is, what they're saying, what they promise, and see if it makes sense. This is not a political video. If you know me, that is the farthest from my mantra or the videos that I like to put out. But I do like to put out informational videos so you can make your own decisions based upon the research that we do together. And a lot of information came out yesterday, and there's a lot of questions around it. A lot of news outlets are running with it, and obviously getting sound bites and things like that. So we're going to jump into some of that and see what's going on. Again, I'm Gary McGowan, your friend, your realtor, your fellow investor buying in the Canadian real estate market. There's many ways to get a hold of me. And of course, we have our YouTube channel, so make sure you subscribe there. I'm on Instagram and a lot of other places as well. And we have fun together. We research the Canadian real estate market together. So we should probably roll the intro and get on with it. So as I said, Trudeau drops the Canadian housing plan as part of their, I wouldn't say part, I would at this moment say a big part of their platform for the election that's coming up next month. And there's a lot of information in it. There's a lot of interesting information in it. There's a lot of questions that people have around it. And of course, you know, like any good political campaign, they drop just enough information so people do have questions. So videos like this pop up and we have conversations around it. So I'm not pro or against this at this moment. I'm just trying to get research just like you and understand it. As with all platforms or all campaigns of all the major parties, there's going to be good pieces and bad pieces of it. Or I shouldn't say bad, maybe. Well, I did say bad. Pieces that can be put into play and put into action. That's what it is. So let's look at this. I'm gonna share my screen and do a little screen share here. And yeah, so the first couple of things we're gonna look at as I fool around with the mouse here. I'll fix this up. Don't worry. I'll get you going. Here's the website right here. Liberal.ca/housing. So that's where you can find the entire platform or the new housing policy. The housing plan is what they're calling it. We're going to go through all of these, not all of these, but most of these promises, political promises, campaign promises, you can say. And there's a lot of information here. There's a lot of interesting questions that pop up. We might do some myth busting. Of course, the Canadian Real Estate Association came out with some information yesterday in response to this. So did the Toronto Real Estate Board. And why that's important is, well, the Toronto Real Estate Board is the largest real estate board in the world. So there's a lot of course, a lot of influence behind that. And that's where I'm a realtor here in the Toronto area. So there's some interesting info. So before we jump into that, I thought it would be good. So this is on cbc.ca. This is their website. And this is one of the main articles that came up. And there's some interesting info here. And I think what's best at this moment is we just do a little soundbite of Trudeau from yesterday.
Promises to help cool an overheated housing market.
If you work hard, if you save, your dream of having your own place should be in reach.
Agreed.
But for too many people, it just isn't.
The Liberals are promising to boost supply by building 1.4 million homes over 4 years, pushing big cities to build middle-class homes, more affordable housing, and scaling up rent-to-own projects. For buyers under 40, there's a tax-free first home savings account and a home buyer's bill of rights that covers everyone.
So all of those things Yeah, I could see any party coming up and agreeing with a lot of those statements. It's how they're going to do it. That's what we have questions for today. So, anyways, let's keep this rolling here.
We'll crack down on the predatory speculators that stack the deck against you.
You had 6 years.
So no more
that.
blind bidding.
You had 6 years
No
to do
more
something. You
foreign
didn't do
wealth
anything.
being
A protester heckled Trudeau with a line that will sound familiar.
He had 6 years to deal with this. If he cared about it, wouldn't the housing crisis not be here?
Jagmeet Singh's solution is to build 500,000 affordable homes over 10 years, tax incentives to build rental units, and $5,000 a year to help families pay rent, with more policies to come.
Mr. Trudeau's had 6 years and has failed.
The Conservatives offer the same critique, but a different solution. They promise 1 million homes over 3 years by converting 15% of government real estate to housing, offering tax breaks to build rental housing, and requiring municipalities to boost density to get transit money. Another target for all the parties, foreign buyers. The NDP wants to impose a 20% tax on housing sales to non-Canadians. The Liberals and the Conservatives would go even further, promising a ban on new foreign ownership for at least 2 years to see if that cools the market. David Cochran, CBC News, Ottawa.
Very good. Okay, so lots of stuff, and of course, there's people going back and forth, and the leaders of each party are going to go back and forth. That's normal. Don't let that come to you as a surprise in any election. But yeah, this is an entire article based around the housing plan. As I said, we're going to jump into it, and the one thing that we're going to come back to. So I had this highlighted. I was going to come back to it, but this is interesting right here. The Liberals would impose an anti-flipping tax on residential properties, which would require that properties either be held for at least 12 months or face burdensome taxes. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, fine. So on one hand, they want to stop the flipping process, right? So the other hand is saying, no, we need more rental, or we need more housing. We need more housing. So here we have a statement that contradicts itself already. We want to have more housing, yet we're going to slow the housing supply down from this perspective. You know, people go into houses, or flippers or contractors or investors go into houses. They see an opportunity, right? They see an opportunity to make some income. How do they make that income? Well, they make that house better. How do they make that house better? They go invest, and they have to spend at your local hardware stores, Home Depots, Canadian Tires, they're hiring contractors, they're hiring trades to go fix that house. So they're slowing a little bit of that economy down with this simple statement here, which is, as I said, contradicts itself, because we are trying to encourage housing supply. And some of these homes are being converted to multifamily properties or multi-purpose. What I mean by that, multifamily in the sense of generational family members living within them, because that's what we're seeing in today's market. We're seeing more homes be occupied by not only 2 but 3 generations of families, because that's how they're able to afford buying a home today. And that's not new. That's not new to the world. That happens a lot in Europe and other places around the world. It just doesn't happen very often here in North America or in Canada. So anyways, I don't want to land very long on that, but anyways, that's a thing that they're looking at doing. Remember, we are here to encourage the economy, right? This is going to slow that down from that perspective a little bit. And we are encouraging housing turnover. That's, how do people get into housing? Is by housing turnover, by people buying and selling homes. If you slow that process down a little bit, that can mean something entirely different. Okay. A home for everyone, the Liberal housing plan, liberal.ca/housing. That's the website that we're currently on. And we're going to explain what that is in just a second here. I'm going to just fix this screen up just ever so slightly. So no, we're going to go with that. Don't worry about it. All good, all good, all good. Okay. So if you go to this website, you hover on any of these, it's going to take you and it's going to give you some more information about the topic or that piece of the promise of this plan. So help renters become owners. Well, that's always a good thing in my mind. That's where we get first-time homeowners from, and this is interesting because what it says here, under the plan, we'll introduce a new rent-to-own program that'll make it easier for renters to get the path towards home ownership. We'll commit $1 billion in loans and grants to develop and scale up rent-to-own projects with private, and this is where it gets interesting, not-for-profit and co-op partners. So people will invest in real estate for a return, for they want something back. It may not be for today, but it's something in the future. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know many investors or large-scale builders that will do stuff just because it feels good. They want a return. They have investors that they're responsible to. Maybe the larger corporations are publicly traded companies, so they have a big, wide investing group that they have to report to and be responsible to. So I do have, some questions about that. I like the fact that, of course, they're looking to engage more home ownership. That, of course, makes sense. And as we look at the bottom here, we will design the program to support projects with these three principles. The landlord must commit to charging a renter lower than market rate to help Canadians build up savings for down payment. So how are they going to incentivize a landlord to do that, a homeowner to do that, to give up some of that fair market rent so people can get into the homes? That's the piece that I'm curious about. The landlord must commit to ownership of a 5-year term or lease. So that, I believe, is in reference to the rent-to-own portion of it. Proper safeguards will be in place to protect the future home owner. So making sure that, so when I've done rent-to-owns in the past, there were times where perhaps the lending requirements changed over the length of the term of the rent-to-own, and we had to get creative on how we exited that property or sold that property to the rent-to-own tenant, the tenant buyer. So maybe there's some things around that. So that's help renters become owners. Let's keep moving forward here because there's lots. Afford a down payment faster. Okay, I like that. Anyways, this is interesting because what they're doing here is a tax-free first home savings account. So similar to we can borrow against our RRSP to buy a home. We can withdraw funds to do that. The difference between the RRSP plan, from what I can see, and this one is I believe it's over, if I borrow, say, $50,000 from my RSP to buy my first home, I believe it's over 15 years, or it could be 20. I think it's 15. I have to pay that $50,000 back, or I'm going to pay tax on it. Okay, I'll pay tax on the amount that I don't get paid back within that 15 year time. Where this is slightly different. It looks like it'll be structured as a TFSA in a sense where you can put money in and withdraw it tax free for the purpose of a down payment. And to me, I think that's a good way to do it. I like this idea. It's no different in my mind than a TFSA, because I could do that in a TFSA. I could put as much money in a TFSA. Let me rephrase that. Every year I'm allowed to put money into a TFSA and have that money come out tax free. So that to me could be, it's kind of the same thing. It's kind of a wash. Moving forward, more flexible first-time home buyer incentive. Okay, let's see what this one's all about. You know what? They came out with this plan in 2019, the first-time home buyer incentive. I don't know many people that are actually using it. I might be wrong in that. In fact, I don't typically work with a lot of first-time home buyers, nor does my team or the agents that I work with. And to me, I think what they would do here is just put more advertising behind it. I don't know a lot about this one. In any case, save on your closing costs of buying a home. So this one's kind of funny because they're talking about how do we slow down the rising price of homes. Yet on this one does make sense. I like this one. This one makes sense because what we're looking at here is they will double the first-time home buyer's tax credit from $5,000 to $10,000. So there's some rebates that you can get there from a land transfer tax credit and so forth. So this gets doubled to $10,000. This to me does make sense, because that's all of a sudden $5,000 less in actual physical funds that you need to come up with on closing. So that'll be a good one for sure. The next one, reduce your monthly mortgage costs when you need it the most. Okay, let's see what we're doing here. So they're talking about CMHC, the premiums or the insurance that you pay on CMHC financing. So this is not every home buyer out there. Only if you are requiring CMHC financing does this apply to you. And the other interesting thing here is CMHC will insure a mortgage up to $1 million. Now they've gone up. They're saying here they're going to go up to 1.25. So they're increasing it by $250,000 of what that looks like. Next one. So this is what Toronto Real Estate Board, CREA, developers have been saying for years. You need to speed up the process for getting permits, for getting shovel in the ground, so they can build more inventory. In fact, that's trust me, the entire Canadian real estate issue of rising prices, Toronto, Vancouver, Calgary, wherever you happen to be investing or buying or living in, if you want to slow down the real estate prices, allow more inventory to come to market. I know it sounds as simple as that, but that really is what is going to correct this market. When we have an influx of inventory, it happens all the time, prices come down. So for instance, I know in the Alberta, in the province of Alberta, the red tape that it takes to get a shovel in the ground there compared to, say, Ontario, is completely different. You can get a shovel in the ground so much faster in Calgary, Alberta, Edmonton, Alberta, and places like that than you can in the Toronto area. And it does hold prices down from that perspective. So they're talking about making it faster for developers to get the shovel in the ground. Now, here's the interesting thing. That's not a federal issue. Sure, the federal government can put pressure on the local governments. That's a local government issue. When I mean local, a provincial government issue, working alongside the local governments. That is where it comes down to. Has nothing to do with the federal policy or what they are empowered to do. It's the provincial and local governments. That's where we need to be working with on that perspective. Okay, build and repair more affordable housing. So National Housing Co-Investment Fund by a total of $2.7 billion over 4 years. They want to increase that fund. These extra funds are dedicated to helping affordable housing providers acquire land, building, and preserve more units and so forth. Let's put your money where your mouth is on that one. That's what it comes down to. I know I live in a small town of Stouffville, which is just north of Markham in the Toronto area, and we've got land here that is starting to be developed for affordable housing. It just hasn't started yet, right? So there's many of those projects out there. It's just a matter of getting that shovel in the ground, for instance. Convert empty office space into housing. So this is an interesting one. As the demand for retail office space has changed due to COVID-19, some landlords, particularly in major urban cores, so your major cities, are facing higher vacancies. This is an opportunity for property owners and communities to explore converting excess space into rental housing, enhancing the livability and affordability of urban communities. This is interesting. So they'll commit to $600 million to support that conversion. There's a lot of things at play here. So zoning on these buildings is going to have to change. Obviously, a lot of renovations is going to have to take place. $600 million is not enough, right? Think about an office tower in your downtown core, and they want to, if it's got 15 floors, 30 floors, they want to take a quarter of that and convert it into apartments, condos, whatever that looks like. If you're RioCan or Trimark or one of the big developers in Canada or owners of a big commercial buildings, office towers, you're going to want to return, right? Because again, you are a publicly traded company. You have investors that you are responsible to for increasing the profit of your company. You're not going to do it if it's not going to yield you an ROI, a favorable ROI. So this is an interesting one, and this is not one that's going to happen overnight. Just think about the infrastructure within the buildings that they have to create. Everything from plumbing to changing electrical and things like. There's a lot of work that has to happen here. This is a big project to look at. So as you can see, that's what I was trying to say. There is a lot of information coming out of this plan and a lot of questions, and there's still lots more information to go through. I'm going to skip a couple of them, and I want to end on a few things. And I want to end on the homeowners or the home buyers bill of rights, because that's a big one. And we're going to spend a little bit of time on that one. But let's flip back to the screen share here and go through some of this. Of course, you can always reach out to me on Instagram. There's my handle right there, so don't forget that. And where are we next? We're going to help different generations of families that want to live together. Well, we talked about that briefly. Yes, this makes sense. We're seeing more and more families buy homes together. And this is really interesting because they're going to create some tax credits and provide some funds for the renovations of homes so you can create multi-family living or multi-generational living. So perhaps 2 kitchens, 3 kitchens, things like that. This is not bad. This is going to add value to your home for sure. So this one's not bad. Whether, we'll see what happens with that in the big picture of everything. Support Indigenous housing. Yes, 100%, always, always, always. And of course, in recent times, we know that this should be a major platform for any political party at the moment, and providing and creating awareness and reconciliation. We all know about that. We are all on the same page with that one, 100%, without a doubt there. End chronic homelessness. So in this one, I'll click to that one quickly there. They're suggesting that they're going to continue on with what they're doing and reduce homelessness by 50% by 2027 and add more funds to that. And next we have curb unproductive foreign ownership. So this is interesting. We've had cities like Vancouver, most recently Toronto, include or introduce, I should say, a foreign homeowners tax. So this will ban any foreign money. This is crazy. Foreign money coming into Canada for non-recreational property for the next 2 years. I don't know what this is going to do. You see, foreign investors come to Canada because not only is it a great place to invest, but it's also a safe haven. And when you got to add another 1% on your investment, that's not a big deal for a lot of these foreign investors. So I don't know what this is going to do. This is going to be nationwide. So in some areas where there's not a lot of foreign investment, it'll really come to a halt. In areas like Toronto, Vancouver, maybe Montreal, and other areas like that, I'm not sure what this is going to do. I think they're just throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks on this one. Now this is an interesting one. Stop excessive profits in the financialization of housing. So as I mentioned before, there's a lot of big REITs, RioCan, Trimark, you name it. I say RioCan because I own stock in that one. That's been a good one for me over the last year or two. They owned commercial and residential buildings, and that's how they increase their profits for their investors. So when you take that away from them, what are they going to do? This to me does not make sense, because big REITs like this move our economy, meaning they invest back into those buildings and they create opportunities for the economy, the GDP growth and things like that. I really don't understand this one. We're in a society where you create a business to make money, and I don't understand this one. This one to me does not make sense. They're talking about reviewing the down payment requirements here for the investment properties. Homes should be lived in, not a financial asset for investment funds to speculate on. Anyways, I can see from one's perspective, you have a developer coming in and buying a slew of homes and renting them back, or not renting them at all because they're acquiring homes to create a development opportunity in the future. But this one to me does not make any sense. Strengthen the federal oversight of the housing market. So this is really weird. We will establish the Canadian Financial Crimes Agency as Canada's first ever national law enforcement agency solely dedicated to investing and combating all forms of major financial crime, including the presence of money laundering in the housing market. We will increase the power of the federal regulators to respond appropriately to housing price fluctuations to ensure a more stable Canadian housing market. That to me is just a lot of words. I have no idea what this looks like. I'd have to talk to my friends that have previously worked in the CRA. I do have a really great friend and an accountant that works there to kind of get a better perspective of what this means. To me, this is just words. Moving along, reduce incentives for speculation of house flipping. So we talked about this off the top. This, to me, anti-flipping tax on residential properties, requiring properties to be held for at least 12 months. Now, this is a whole topic in itself, because people will always say, well, how am I going to get taxed if I flip this property? And there's no right or wrong answer. Is it going to be active income versus, what's the word I'm thinking of? Capital gains. So whenever we are going to be taxed as an investor, we always want capital gains, because it really only breaks down to about 24% of the profit, which is taxable. And in this case, that could be entirely different. And when you go and flip properties as a living, typically that's taxed as active income. So as you're earning a paycheck every week, that's how they tax it, which is much higher. This, to me, this will reduce the speculative demand on the marketplace to help cool excessive price growth, changes in life circumstances due, for example, pregnancy, death, employment, divorce, or disability when exempt from this policy. As this tax is introduced, rules will be established to ensure that sellers subject to this tax are able to deduct legitimate investments in refurbishment, if I could say it. Again, you want to bring properties to market. This, as we said off the top, this is slowing the supply down. We want to increase supply. Let's do things to increase supply. So this gets a big no for me. Let's increase supply. Okay, last one. Introduce a home buyer's bill of rights. So there's a lot going on here, and Korea is taking a big stand here. Of course, Toronto Real Estate Board, and I'm sure other real estate boards across Canada they have an opinion here, and there's lots of information on this one of what they want to do. We will create a home buyer's bill of rights, so the process of buying a home is fair, open, and transparent. This will include, well, that sentence there, yes, I agree with that. I think there's things that we can establish as an industry to help that process along and make it more transparent. And I think that to me, yeah, that makes sense. What they want to do here, though, is in addition to what they already have, and I'm not sure some of these things are going to fly. Banning blind bidding, which prevents bidders from knowing the bids. Right now, we prevent bidders from knowing the bids of other prospective buyers, and ultimately drives up home prices. In a sense, that's true. We can, as a realtor, if I have a listing and I got multiple offers on a property, I cannot disclose 1 ounce of information from the offer that I received to other agents. We just can't disclose that. And I know in other countries like Australia, perhaps New Zealand as well, they do auction style bidding on when you have multiple offers on a property. So you basically, it works just like an auction, and you can see what other people are bidding for that particular property. Maybe, and that is allowed here, at least in Ontario. You can do that. I'm not sure about the other provinces. There's a few companies that will facilitate that for you as a seller. This this to me, I think you can take the fence, or you can stand on the fence or get on one side or the other. You take the ability away from how a home is sold by implementing rules like this. You're taking that right away from that seller. There's a whole thing around that. Establishing legal right to a home inspection. Make sure that buyers have the peace of mind that their investment is sound. You have the legal right to ask for a home inspection. You already have that. Now, when it comes to multiple offers, perhaps it's your choice as a buyer to remove that condition from your purchase and sale agreement. So that's already in place. Now, there could be other things. So if you're a listing agent and you know your home is sound and well and things like that, perhaps you can provide a pre-inspection report. That's entirely up to the seller and, of course, the listing agent at the time. And sometimes you might want to take seek lawyer's advice on that as well. So that's already out there in the marketplace. I don't know why they're talking about that. Next here. Ensuring total transparency on the history of recent home or house sale prices on title searches. So in a sense, that's already there. You can go and pull a title search and you can see what title or what that home has transferred ownership for. Realtors, of course, have access to this information with a click of a few buttons. They can see that. And if you are working with a realtor and you're looking to purchase a property, you want to see what they bought that home. But let me tell you this. What they purchased the home for 6 months ago or 16 years ago or 66 years ago has no relevance, zero relevance of what that market is today. So that should not come into account. That makes no sense to me why that's a thing. Now, of course, a good buyer's agent is going to do the research on the property, but when you're coming to buy a property and the seller has been in there for 10 years, it has no relevance of what they bought that property for. It's what the market is today. That's what matters. That to me what matters. So to me, that's a non-issue in a sense from a negotiation standpoint. Requiring real estate agents to disclose to all participants in a transaction when they are involved in both sides of potential sale. Well, in Ontario, that's a must. You already have to do that. So I'm not sure about some of the other provinces. I would imagine so. But here in Ontario, I've got to do that. If I got a listing and I'm bringing a buyer, I gotta make sure that both sides know that I'm representing both sides. And in essence, when it comes to multiple offers and I'm representing both sides, I have to inform every agent that is bringing an offer that they make sure that I make sure that they know that that's the situation. Good realtors will not put themselves in that situation when it comes to multiple offers, but to me, that's already out there. Moving forward with a publicly accessible beneficial ownership registry. I gotta be honest with you, I have no idea what that is. So if you do, write it in the comments. I have no idea what that is. Next, ensuring banks and lenders offer mortgage deferrals for up to 6 months in the event of a job loss or major life event. And requiring mortgage lenders act in the best interest so that you're fully informed of the full range of choices at your disposal, including the first-time homebuyer incentive. So here they reference the first-time homebuyer incentive again. I don't think enough people perhaps know about it, or maybe they don't qualify for it from that perspective. So a lot of lenders do have deferral options. So what that means is, in a sense, there's a whole nother topic there. I can defer my mortgage payment up to 6 months, but the interest gets tacked on to the principal amount. So it's not like I don't have to pay it. You'll have to pay it at some point in time. Don't trust me. As part of the establishing the Home Buyers Bill of Rights, a re-elected Liberal government will convey federal and provincial regulations to develop a national action plan to increase consumer protection and transparency. Well, yeah, that's what's going on there. We'll also stop rent evictions, which is interesting, by deterring unfair rent increases that fall outside the normal change in rent. We will require landlords to disclose their tax filing and rent and so forth and so forth. If you are, again, you know, most investors are buying properties because they see an opportunity, and that opportunity might be there to, if I can upgrade the units, I'm going to increase the rent and therefore increase the value of the building. That is investing 101. How can you buy the property? How can you add value to the property? How can you sell it? But how can you add value? And by increasing the value of the property, meaning you are updating the units, you're most likely taking a unit that's had a lot of deferred maintenance to it. Maybe things aren't working great. It's, who knows, but you're turning around and you're creating opportunities because you're going to have to hire contractors. You got to buy building supplies. So this, a sense, goes back into creating opportunity and employment and money, investing money back into the local economy. So to me, this is, yeah, of course, on the whole, if you were to just take that statement, stop rental evictions, that makes sense. But there's a lot more to it than that. So that is my, you know, live version of the Liberal housing plan. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it ugly? There's a lot of confusion there. A lot of the things that they are saying, in fact, a lot of the things they are saying here is they don't have jurisdiction over, right? So they're going to have to work with the local governments to make a lot of these things happen. Here's, at the end of the day, if we peel the onion away, here's what we got to say. You know, if we peel the onion away, if we can create more product, the housing prices will start to come down, right? It's marketing and supply and demand 101. If you have more of something, prices are going to come down. The less demand for that individual piece of property or that product comes down. So if we can increase and get the speed of which properties are coming to market, that's going to solve a lot of the issues. Developers have been saying that for years. How do we make this more streamlined? In fact, we've heard government say it in the past, but every time an election comes up, they say this: let's just make it happen. We got to streamline the process of being able to get that shovel in the ground and that townhouse, condo development up so it can be sold into the market. That's what's going to create more opportunity for buyers and to get into the market. You got questions for me? You want me to dive deeper in some of this stuff? I'll do the research for it. Please let me know. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave a comment there. You can always reach out to me at homes@Gary A. McGowan. Of course, my cell is 416-919-4279. I help real estate investors. I help realtors all over Canada. I help buyers and sellers all over Canada get connected with the right people so they can achieve the things that they want to achieve. So do please reach out to me if you're looking to do that. Again, don't be afraid to leave a comment or anything else, but we'll see everybody on the next episode. Bye for now.